So yeah, I'm here again, and tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the satellites, the space station, and how I personally work them, the equipment that I'm using. So a quick rundown, it's the FT847, SAT PC32, a 232 interface system connecting up the rotator controller, which is a G5500, a couple of antennas, and the G5500 rotor outside. The transceiver, all connected up with SAT PC32. So let's take a look at this past on the space station. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it all works and what you can use and how mine works and why I use it. So that's the FT847, you've seen it before. What you can see above it is the flashing light. That's a little interface system, serial interface. And what's that's doing, that's the one I was talking about, which is also connected between the cat cable and the rotator box. So the PC goes to that box, it then goes to this rotator box, which has got an LED missing, or a lamp in this case, and that then controls the antenna. If you take a look at the frequency, it's auto changing. That is the cat cable, which is auto correcting the frequency. You can see both uplink on the right and downlink to the left. So the software on the screen is a SAT PC32 software. We've got different types of software which people use. This one I find quite useful. Yeah, it's a fairly old layout, but it works really well. So you select all the satellites that you're wanting to receive in the satellite menu, which is located at the top of the list up there. And you've got the other adjustments, CAT and other various stuff. So it's a neat bit of software. The frequency on the top of the software is matching the radio frequency. So identical match as it steers the radio. So the antenna system, as you can see, is moving by itself. That's controlled by a rotator system, which is connected to that rotator control box and that small interface, which is connected to the SAT PC32 software. As you can see, it's raining. So we've got two antennas. The nearest antenna is the 437 Oscar satellite antenna, and that's in total it's got 30 elements. It's got 15 horizontal, 15 vertical, in a circular polarized configuration. No switches, it actually puts out a circular polarized pattern. At the back of it you can see there is a preamplifier, and that enhances the received signal. So on the other side, next to the scaffolding on the neighbouring house, is the uplink antenna. That's the 145X Yagi, and that is a LFA, that's a loop fed array. And if you look at the back of it, you can see the loops. So there's two loops, one for the vertical polarized pattern and one for the horizontal, which together produces a circular polarized pattern. There's no preamplifier on that particular antenna. That's a transmitting antenna on a lot of the satellites. So you can see it's moving automatically by itself, and all this is controlled by SAT PC32 software on the Windows 10 machine. I'm still receiving good signals, obviously. So yeah, the interface is just stopped flashing for a second. The antenna is obviously not moving. When it's not flashing, the antenna is stationary momentarily until the satellite moves. I've got it set so that when the actual satellite or space station moves a couple of degrees, the antenna will then move and adjust. So you'll see it coming back on again. But as the bird gets, there you go. So we're repositioning the antenna. So as the satellite gets further kind of horizontal towards the horizon, you'll see the antenna moves a lot less. It's moving most at higher elevation. It's got to keep up with the movement of the travelling, orbiting satellite or space station. And as you can see, we're right at the edge of the footprint. So the footprint is the circle of reception, and the centre of the circle is where the space station currently is positioned. And you can see I'm right on the fringe of this footprint. We're still hearing the signal coming in due to the preamplifier on the back of the long 437 cross Yagi. So yeah, the rotator box is showing the reading of the antenna. So on the left, without the illumination, we've got the elevation side, which is currently around about 5 degrees, 2 degrees should I say. So it's not very high. It's just slightly above the horizon, 1 degrees. And to the right, we've got the azimuth position, which is currently just off of, looking at it just to the southeast. And the COM 232 is flashing itself there, and that's just going to park my antenna back up to its parking position, which I've currently got set. So yeah, I've got mine set to -5 because I have my antenna slightly adjusted to be slightly higher than the reading. I find it works better a couple of degrees higher. So to park it, I set it to -5, and then it's parked at horizontal, and then it's 35, which is just a perfect alignment between the two properties. So that's on the one of the tabs on the menu features of SAT PC32. As is the choice of satellites which you configure. I've done other videos in the past, but pretty much you just select the satellite you wish to operate with, and make sure that you update the CLEPS, which is the thing you need to do regularly to make sure you've got the satellite in the right position and at the right time. So that's how I like to operate from the base using the Windows PC, and like I keep saying, SAT PC32. And I'm not on commission, by the way. I just like the software. It's free, and you can purchase a license relatively cheap. So other methods of doing it, if you're not obviously running a computer or a PC, Windows PC, I use an Android tablet. Some of you can use it on the iPad, same kind of thing. I'm sure you can get a similar app. This is called Look for Sat. I've mentioned it in previous videos. Look for Sat. And I like this one because obviously I can whip outside with this and use my portable setup. So I'm going to talk about the portable setup now, which is another method of working satellites and space station, and obviously pretty successful. The only limitations with the portable setup probably would be you're stuck to the FM birds usually, unless you've got something like an 817 or one of these Chinese radios which operate on SSB. So I've not tried SSB out with the Arrow. I keep threatening to do it, but I've not got around to trying it yet, so I will be doing it. So I keep telling myself. So here we go. So this particular software, when it comes back on the screen, I like it. It's got a radar, so we can track stuff with the cool built-in radar. I'm going to just try and go for a bird which is going to be nearly in range. So once it's in range, it shows a different kind of image. You plot the path, it shows you whereabouts the bird's coming in from. It gives you the azimuth, the elevation, all the information you need to know. It even gives you the frequency operation. If you click on that button, you get the map up. So the map's quite cool. Shows you, obviously you put your location in, so I've got my location entered in there. And pretty much it gives you the same kind of stuff, but it just looks a lot nicer than SAT PC32. I really like the look of this. So yeah, you've got all the satellites, so same kind of thing. We can program up what we want. I've programmed in the ones that I typically like to listen to, such as JO97, RS44, SO50, ISS, stuff like that. I do have a few others in there, weather satellites. So yeah, this is Look for Sat, and it's on Android. And yeah, it's got a really cool map, so it gives you everything you need to know, and you can download that for free. So that's what I use when I'm outside, portable. I've also got it on my mobile phone. There is other stuff you can use. There's plenty of different choices, but I'm just telling you what I'm using, because quite a few people keep sending me emails asking me what kind of equipment I would advise they get. So we've got the G5500 rotator box, the cat controller, which is a Chinese one. It's an RS232 interface system, that's what they call it, an RS232 interface system connected to the cables to the rotator controlling the antenna outside, which you've seen. And that's a G5500 Yaesu antenna controller and rotator. with a different little interface. You can pick up a proper Yaesu interface, but they're quite a lot of money. That particular interface that I got, I've had it for a few years now, and it cost me about £100. So it's worth every penny I spent. And it's connected to the 847. So let's take a quick look at some of the other options you can try. I'm going to get wet now, so I've got to nip into the shed, and we're going to have a quick look at the satellite antenna with a couple of handhelds. So it's a little bit wet out here, and this is my little portable setup which I use. So yeah, we've got the Kenwood, which quite a lot of you have seen. We've got the Baofeng in this situation. I use a number of different handhelds, but this one works quite nice for me on receive. So I've been using that one as the RX, and I've been using this one for transmitting on the uplink. So that's the transmission and RX on the cheap. As for the antenna, it's the Arrow Mark II. So this antenna, I've got it partly assembled and partly disassembled, so I can just pop it in the back of the vehicle and go out on the tops. So pretty much it's a dual band antenna. You've seen it up on my other videos, and I've mounted this to a camera tripod with the cradles for both radios to mount in. So most people tend to hold these antennas. They come with a foam grip handle, and you can pretty much just stand holding the Arrow Mark II antenna and point it to the satellites. I think they go for about 130 quid. I'm not too sure, maybe a bit more, but they're not cheap. But that's one option. There is, however, different options. I think Wemo make a few different versions, and I think you can get any kind of Yagis pretty much. Make your own. I've made some successful IO Yagi antennas using two loops, a loop for 145 and a loop for 435 to 437. And pretty much this is the next option. It's just a dual band Yagi antenna, 2 meters 70 sems, but this will do a perfect job. And again, you can put a little extension to the back, put a foam grip on it, and you could hold this pretty easy. It's pretty light. This is a 5-element Yagi for 145, and I think it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 70 sems as well. So that's just a typical Yagi. I know it's not the best video because I'm just keeping out of the rain. I'll be stood outside otherwise. But we've got a few stuff in here, so it's a little bit cramped up. But you get the general gist of the video. So a couple of cheap Yagis, that's a dual band antenna, which will work into the space station. Pick it up second hand probably, and even if you had to buy it brand new, it won't break the bank too much. So that's what I used to use previously, and successfully worked the birds for many years. Obviously I've upgraded now, but I'm one of these kind of guys that don't like to throw stuff away. I might have a use for this. I'm sure I will have. So yeah, that's just a couple of ideas you could do on the cheap. Like I said, try and make the IO antenna. That's quite a good starting point. And get yourself some of these little cheapies just to try to receive stuff. I won't bother trying to transmit on them though, because they're a little bit spurious for putting out harmonics. But they certainly received really well. So yeah, that's a Kenwood which I TX up on. I've got other choices. I've yet to try out this this handy Retevis, which I'm going to be doing, but it's always raining, so I'm not doing it tonight. But yeah, this should be pretty good to go. And again, we can connect this to the duplexer, just use the one radio and transmit through the handheld antenna with the duplexer if I wish. But I personally enjoy the choice of transmit and receive options when I'm out portable. So that's an idea. Another idea you could use obviously for the base station would be something like this 2980 2 meter transceiver, which I've got. I've got it actually configured to I'll let you take a quick look. I've got it configured to 145/990, the space station uplink, which is just a simple memory saving option, and I just saved the CTSS tone for the 67 Hz setting, which is most of the satellites and the space station that operate on FM. SO50 uses it, and so does the ISS. So that's another option. You could get one of these for 145 megahertz on FM, and then get yourself a little 433 to 437 receiving FM radio. So a few ideas there, and that could be a cheaper version obviously. These are pretty good. They've got a good reputation. It's a Yaesu top model. I've had it for quite a long time. A lot of you guys are enjoying the previous review videos I've done on this radio, and I can still recommend it. It's a solid piece of kit. So yeah, the 2980 from Yaesu, a great radio, and it's not that expensive. Puts out a really nice transmission.
good choice of power output, and you've got all the tones and memory settings you can put in there for the different satellites, repeaters, and obviously space station. So right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've covered, which pretty much is the base station. So you can use a number of different two radios, or you can use a full duplex radio. That's one way of doing it. I've got the 847. Then you need the if you're going to have the full control of the antenna, elevation, you need a rotator that does that. I've got the G5500 from Yaesu. There's different ones on the market, but the one that I've chosen is that one. I had it for 20 years and it's still going strong. That is connected to the two cables. One cable to the radio, direct front to computer, which is controlling the frequency for the various different satellites, which change when I click on the software and select them. The software is SatPC32 doing all this. The other cable goes to the small 232 interface, which then feeds to the control box, which then feeds to the antenna rotator, which positions the antenna. Again, SatPC32. So that's how we run it from the base. Like I said, you could have two separate radios, and you could do all this manually. You don't need to have the control cables and the interface if you like doing all that business. I did all that before, and you can do it no problem, but it's obviously not as accurate, and you don't always hit the target, and the reception can be critical. So it's better to do it auto, really, if you can, for the small cost of the interface. So the other method we've just looked at is two handhelds and a dual band antenna. That works as well. Or you could use two base stations and a dual band antenna. I had a lot of success in the past with a 30 degrees fixed elevation of the antenna, and it rotated round like that pretty much, and pretty cool that. What happened there is I could work most passes in range at that kind of elevation angle. So it gave me a reasonable option. I chose to use an IO-IO, which was a dual band double loop antenna, and that put a broad, wide transmission pattern out, which assisted me at that 30-degree angle. If I decided to go for a 30 element Yagi at 30-degree angle, I would have been limited to the focus inline, within that limit, because it's a very sharp signal with the added elements. So I chose a single element large loop with a radiator at the back to reflect the reflector, and that worked really well because the pattern was wide, large, pretty out of control, and it hit the bird. So that's one way of doing it. So your choice is yours. Hope you've enjoyed the video. A little bit different, just a bit of a waffle whilst we have some radio on in the background, and play a little bit for this and that. You know how it goes, keeping out of the rain. Thanks for watching, hitting the subscribe, the like, and hope I've answered some of your questions regarding all the stuff that you've been asking me via email and comment about the setup and what I use. I've mentioned it a few times, so if you're sick of hearing about it, I do apologise. But obviously, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you very much for joining, and hopefully you've got a little bit of useful information out of that, possibly. The manufacturers of the antenna, one more time, the 145 antenna is a 5-element cross Yagi, LFA Yagi, which is loop fed array. It comes with two balance fitted. You need a splitter unit because there's two separate coaxial feeds, one for the vertical, one for the horizontal. So you need the splitter to join the two coaxes, and then that can be fed to a single feed line into the shack. That's a 145 Innov LFA Yagi. We've got various different options. I've got the 5 elements, which is 5 vertical, 5 horizontal. The other one which you saw was the 15 element vertical, 15 element horizontal, and that's 30 elements in total, and that's the Oscar 437 sat antenna. A lot of people have been asking me about that one. Well, I've had that for over 20 years now, I'm afraid, and I got it from Waters and Stanton years ago, and I don't think they make them anymore. So you might find something similar, but it's a pretty good quality piece of kit. On the back of that, it's got a ballon with two coax feed lines coming out, mini lines, which go to the vertical and the horizontal simultaneously, with one coaxial input at the back of the ballon. And then behind that, we've got the Mini 70 preamp, which is the Wemo one, which I recently purchased, which is pretty good, to be fair. It's made a massive difference. All that then is then fed back to the shack. So that's the antenna system, fully explained with all the parts and names and where I got the bits and pieces from. So if you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe. If you don't like it, well, I'll try to do something a bit more interesting for you next time. This is M0YKS, just talking about the birds and the bees, the satellites and this and that, and what you might want to try out if you're going to consider making some contacts into space. See you next time. Catch you later. Have a great evening. 73.